and foremost, thank you guys so much for being with us today. This has been like a long time coming. We could not wait to get you. And Jodi, we are so excited to introduce you to our audience because I know a lot of people know Daniel, but Jodi, you know, we know that you bring so much value and we can't wait to hear about it. So let's get into it.
We're living out a dream right now, man.
I know. Yep.
Us too.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll get started with just like an intro of the Daniel and Jodi Mason-Jones duo.
We have our names are so long you would think that we own a law firm. We definitely don't. I'm Daniel Mason-Jones, and I've been a hairstylist for 26 years. It's been the most amazing journey of my life, besides being a parent. And it's been really incredible because it's allowed me opportunities to meet people like yourselves. We're based here in Atlanta, Georgia, with 2 salons, and yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell.
I'm Jodi Mason-Jones. I co-own Muse Salon and Spa with this guy. We've been in business now for 20 years. I've been in the business, gosh, almost 35 years now.
He's old.
Yeah, almost 35 years now, and was behind the chair most of those years, and then about 11 years ago, stepped away from behind the chair to just manage and run our company and just grow it as much as I possibly could. And so far it's worked out pretty well.
I love that. How long has Muse been open?
20 years.
20 years and 11 years you've stepped out from behind the chair. Daniel, you're still behind the chair actively.
I'm ball and chain behind that chair, baby.
I thought he was going to say I'm balling behind the chair.
I love it.
Is too.
Jodi, I have a couple questions for you around this because I think that so many stylists who are owners active behind a chair, I think the idea of actually stepping back from behind a chair is absolutely terrifying to a lot of people. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think for me, my story of it is Daniel and I, when we opened the salon, we worked so hard. Not that any other stylists don't, but we really worked ourselves to the bone. Mm-hmm. Like trying to grow the company, working long hours, long days, 4 or 5 days a week. It was like years into the business before we decided to take a Tuesday off, you know, and work Wednesday through Saturday. And the grind of it, and then the company was growing, and we kept hiring and kept getting all these people that wanted to come and be part of our team, that it became, and we had people in place. We were fortunate we had my mom as a manager at the time we had 1 location. My mom was there, and she kind of took care of all the things that we trusted her with, as only you would your mom. You know, all the bookkeeping, all of the banking stuff. But she wasn't recruiter or hirer, or she couldn't interview. She wasn't really equipped to handle some of the tricky little HR moments and things of the salon. So we do this day to day. We know hairstylists. We know the things that they do and how they operate. So it was easier for me to talk to them, but it was hard when you're behind the chair doing 10, 12, 14 clients a day. It was hard. So it got to the point where I enjoyed the idea of growing the company more than I did doing hair. And I got kind of like burnt out, and Daniel will tell you, kind of almost bitter about it. Like I didn't enjoy going and doing the same clients all the time. And believe me, I have the same client very all the time. And so I never even really had room for a new client, you know, so it was because it was always the same ones. And we had a son on the way from a surrogate. And so that kind of was the catalyst that kind of like, Daniel was like, if we're going to do this, let's do it now. So that was scary. I was worried what my clients would do. Would they stay? If they would see the people that I recommended them to. Ironically enough, a lot of them just moved over to Daniel's chair. And then
Because I needed more clients.
yeah, because Daniel needed more clients for sure. And so then a lot of them I was able to move them to other stylists, and a lot of them, to be honest, they just left. And there's nothing more jarring knowing that because you aren't behind the chair anymore, that a client really wasn't that loyal to your actual company. They just were only loyal to you. And I think I can actually see their faces and think of those clients that just the minute that I stopped doing their hair, they like disappeared. And so I don't know, I have mixed emotions about that. Like, were you really truly happy with what I was doing? Or was it just because I was doing your hair? Was it like a temper tantrum?
Yeah.
Like, did you just leave because I stopped doing it? I mean, there's a whole lot of it, but I managed to do it successfully. It was a little weird and awkward at times because you see your clients in the chair and they see you, and it's like you look at them, they look at you, and you're not doing what you always did to them, but you were running around doing a lot of other things in the salon. And then there would be moments where, like, I would be helping Daniel do a blow dry, or somebody, because that's what I do, just jump in and help where I needed. They'd see me blow drying one of his clients and they'd be like, "Is Jodi doing hair again?" And they're like, "No, calm down. He's just helping do a blow dryer. He's doing his mom's hair. He's doing his brother's hair." So it was tricky. It's one of those things that I think a lot of hairstylists probably get in their own way with it. And it's not as hard as it seems like it's going to be if you have the courage to just do it.
Well, that was a great response. And I feel like, none of us at this point are behind a chair. And it's so much of what you were saying was like landing with me. I'm like, oh, I know that moment.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, like, when you did step back, or when you guys did, start leading through the business, how did you guys adapt from like being people who build people behind the chair to like holding them accountable and having hard conversations without being like the bad guy?
I don't think you're ever not going to be the best guy. When you're trying to course correct or get someone on the same vision where you are, that can be challenging. And that's the hardest thing in leadership, is you're never going to make everybody happy. And so every decision that's made, you're looking at the larger picture. How is this going to affect the whole company? How's it going to affect the entire team? And how does it ultimately affect the guest? So that's my take. I'll let you jump in on this one.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the first topic about stepping out from behind a chair, I think one of the big eye-opening moments that kind of actually pushed me to do it was one of our staff members telling me, "Jodi would be more valuable to all of us not doing hair." And I was like, wow. And so then that allowed me to be able to have more conversations, talk with them, check in with them, because you're so busy doing clients that sometimes everybody else is a background. And then when I stopped doing and focusing on the clients, then I became more available for all of them, and you were able to have great conversations and tough conversations in a more connected way that you were actually present for, and you're not worrying about that you had a foil processing or you needed to check on a highlight or a haircut or a blow dry that was going on. And I think that part of it too is, you're going to be the bad guy, but if you're in a place where you can be present for them and always have some sort of connection to them. We have a big team, and I do my very best to try to have, even if it's a small little talk, even if I'm in this one location for a couple of hours, try to talk and connect to each and every single one of them as much as you possibly can. Even if it's just, "Hey, good morning, how are you? How was your weekend?" I think that goes a long way.
It does.
Love that.
Jodi, I have a question. So when you were still behind the chair, how big was your team then?
Probably
It's
only
not what it is now.
Probably only 25 or 30.
Yeah, I would say around 30 max.
And you just had the one location then? So how soon after, when you stepped back, did you start to see the real shift happening where you're like, wow, it's really growing here? Was this something that happened right away? Or was this a work in progress
Well,
for you?
it was a process. We completely just threw our business model out the window. We opened up on Mondays. We opened up longer hours. We were closed on Mondays, and we were like Lily, what,
9 to
7.
7. Mm-hmm.
So we opened up at 8 and closed at 8. And we created shifts in the salon where we could have, people working in the morning and work in the afternoons. And it was almost like one of those Field of Dreams things. If you build it, they will come. You're like, I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to take all of our lower level stylists and say, here's your new schedule. Guess what? You're only going to work a 6-hour shift. And at first it was like, what are they going to say about this? But they were like, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, awesome. So then people started coming, and Daniel's reach in the industry. So even locally with our beauty schools, people started coming and interviewing and wanting to work as they finished school. We'd hire them, put them through our training program. We just started filling in these segments. And then that first full year after I stopped, we'd hired at least 15
Wow.
new service providers.
Within a year?
Some of them were already established, came to us from, I remember one came from Connecticut. They just moved here, heard of the salon, knew Daniel through connections and wanted to work with us. And so we started just filling in these like shifts to make one chair, have two stylists or two service providers. And that first full year after I stopped, we grew the company like 400 grand.
It was actually, I remember, it was $470,000.
Yeah, so
That's
that
amazing.
basically completely made up for what I wasn't producing behind the chair, for sure.
That's amazing.
And if you're listening to this as a stylist and you heard the $470,000, that does not mean that we took home the $470,000.
Well, we know that.
We know that for sure.
That meant that we probably took home
I don't know, 6%.
Yeah.
6% sounds amazing. You're probably 2.5–3% of that. So do your math. And but you also, as the company grows, as you all know, as the company grows, it's like having more children. There's more.
Yeah.
There's more stress. There's more worry, and so with high risk comes high responsibility.
Yeah, more bodies means more personalities.
For sure.
More personalities means more issues, you know, so you always have that to deal with as the salon grows.
Yes.
I'm blown away that you actually had a stylist from Connecticut that you're pulling from all over the country. So with that said, if you ever need anyone from Pennsylvania, I have a great girl that has a good resume. I'll send it your way.
Who, you?
Yeah. I would love to come work for you guys.
or if you ever want some nice guys.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Did you guys?
It's actually been amazing. We've had a lot of people come from across the country to work with us.
That's awesome.
That is
Wow.
just so like insane to me that you're pulling from all over the country, that people have just such an aspiration to come be a part of your team.
Yeah.
It says so much.
The draw to you guys is pretty intense.
I just
But-
have one more
Go ahead,
question.
go.
Jodi, so, and this, both you guys can answer, but when you stepped back from behind the chair, were you like thrown into the fire? Like, I need to figure this all out on my own? Or did you have like a mentor or a coach or anybody working with you?
I mean, we had already had pretty good systems in place.
We did.
Yeah.
That's great.
We did, we started going to leadership classes. You went and took a branding class. We went outside of the industry because we needed to see, I think, and I was talking to this yesterday when I was in Chicago teaching to salon owners, and I was saying, we seek advice from people within our industry, which is great sometimes because we do have commonalities. But the reality is our industry, if we don't change the mold of how it's been done for so long, we're going to end up in the same cycles over and over again. So he started to really seek out, we had mentor John Maxwell and Brendan Bouchard and Donald Miller. There was just different people that we were seeking this, and so he was absorbing. We still have those notebooks all over the house with those.
Yeah, I mean, so when like I said, we had good systems in place. It just was hard to sometimes manage them because I was always busy doing something else. So I was able to focus on those things, fine tune it. At first, it probably was a little all over the place, but then we finally get our groove, and then I was able to. It took me a while to delegate. We have really strong people in the company, and then sometimes that's one of my weaknesses is that I let go of control of things. And so that was why I was struggling so much, doing things behind the chair and trying to run the salon, because I felt like I was just not great at either. And so when I stopped doing that and then the business was my baby, then I felt like it was like I had my arms around it and I wanted to just hold on to it. And then even as we kept growing and more people, I quickly learned that there are things that I needed to delegate, and we had great people come along that helped us take over our young stylist training program that are, oh my gosh, the value that they bring is just huge. And I just let them have it. Okay, create this program. I'll support it. Whatever you need, just let me know. But this is what I want. This is how we want to train these young stylists to be on the floor. And they've created an incredible program. Y'all probably met them.
Oh, yeah.
We did. Yep.
Star and Holland.
Well, it's funny because I'm sitting here and I'm like, we must be hanging out with you guys a lot, because a lot of what you're saying are things that we're now implementing within our own company, and we're seeing the value. We struggled with an apprentice program, an effective apprentice program for years. And then we finally had one team member that came to us and was like, can I just do this? And we were like, please. And it's been a game changer. So I love that. Now, with your team being as big as it is, and I know, Jodi, you're focused on a lot of the back end things. Do you have additional support? I'm assuming you have managers in place.
We kind of got really serious about the manager situation in the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We kind of had people that we just sadly, they were like piecemeal managers, if you will. They did okay. They were great at customer service stuff, but I felt like still a lot of the big issues were handed off to me.
Yeah.
You know, and then we were blessed about 2 years ago to have this young lady that came along that had a background in managing spa.
Again, from a hair show.
A hair show in Wisconsin. Her sister met Daniel and was like, my sister lives in Atlanta. She manages a big spa, and I want her to talk to you about a job. Well, she came along and was probably one of the best things that happened to us in the last 5 years. And sadly, her husband got a job transfer. In the last month, she moved back to Illinois.
So we have her
no.
virtual, though. We're keeping her on virtual as best we can because she's an incredible asset. for
So she's like, she created like a lot of systems too, her own systems and stuff, and sort of led the assistant manager who's been with us for a while to kind of show her how to be effective as a leader. And she still is on call. We're going to like keep her sort of like a little remote until the end of the year, where she can kind of still be a part of a lot of the things that we do, from product inventory management, a lot of the stuff back end that we do with our software, with Forest and all those kinds of things. So she's still there, just not physically,
which is sad because she's incredible.
I love that, though. And the fact that she's, that invested in your company, that she moved and she's still like, I want to be a part of it.
She cried. She was so sad to leave, and we were so sad.
And we still are. I'm still in mourning.
Aw.
All right.
How old is your guys' son? How long?
11, almost 11.
Okay,
She will still be 11.
Can you talk to us about, I feel like being a parent and a leader is kind of like gives you an edge. Can you talk about like that part of your guys' lifestyle, and also like balance? I know is like a taboo word, but like Daniel, I know you travel. Obviously, Jodi, you have a lot on your plate. Just talk about any pointers you could give us asking for a friend or anybody out there that's listening, just like tips or tricks to try to keep some balance in that part of your life together.
So the balance is, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell everybody, hey, there's this magic formula. And I've looked at this from the eyes of psychologists and psychiatrists. I've had those conversations with them in my chair. Luckily, I've got two friends that work in both sides. That you met one of them, Dora.
We did.
And so there's a fine line. So I want you to think about your own situations. How many clients or guests do you have that come in that they're around their children all the time? And you've watched their children grow up, and I want you to think about what that child possibly has turned out like. Are they able to stand on their own 2 feet, and are they independent? The other side of that is if you're gone all the time, the kid is like, hey, I'm over here. And I'm kind of that child. My parents worked all the time. My dad worked third shift. When I would come home from school, he was asleep. My mom was always working her day job. When she would get off work, the day job, on the nights that we didn't have church, she was cleaning houses or an office. We grew up very poor. So my parents worked all the time, and I learned how to become incredibly independent. So that's worked out well for me. So I do feel that there's a fine line between, working too much and not working enough with your child. Now, when you're with your child is the biggest testament. I don't think, just like with a customer in the chair, I don't think you have to spend 12 hours with your customer in the chair to build a relationship. I can build an incredible connection with you in 25 minutes. That's hands down without a question. So when we're with our children or at home, what is our time like with them? I have a rule in this house that doesn't always get listened to, but my wish in this house is that every night we can have dinner together, unplugged from all electronics, including TV in the background, just enjoying each other. Because at the end of the day, literally, we have all been on different journeys throughout the day. And it's like, how can we sit down together, share those journeys with each other, decompress, debrief the day? What could we do better? What could we have done better? What are the celebrations of the day? And then how can we tackle tomorrow? So that's something that's really important to me. And I think just really being present when you're with them. You know, our son is now getting to the age where we're still cool, but we're not as cool. And we used to have story time every night. I do miss that. He likes to go to bed later. I like to go to bed early. And so there's this, we're kind of like starting to hit that ships passing in the night thing. Like I'm like, all right, go upstairs and go to bed versus that connection time. And I do miss it. So just learning how to connect as best you can while you can is really key.
Love that.
That's great
I think the big
advice.
thing is like you said, quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if there's such a thing as balance. There's more of the
Only on
keyword. The
Power.
keyword is manage. You know, like just how do you manage it? You know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts in our life, a whole lot of them. And Easton has like literally become adapt to that. I can't tell you how many times in the last couple of months on a Sunday he goes to the salon with me and helps me do inventory. We'll count products and I'm like, go with me to the salon. We need to like do an inventory column and color. Okay. So
And it's actually funny because he'll make comments sometimes. He'll walk into the salon and he's like, you know, our cleaners come on Sunday. So he's like, you know, whoever works in this station could have done a better job tidying up their seat.
Love him.
Maybe we need to talk to them about that. Or he's like, you know, when he was younger, he's like, can I come in and wash the color bowls? So in my heart, I hope we have the future owner of our company, but I would never wish him to do something that's not in his heart. But I feel that he's almost becoming an entrepreneur because he sees what we're doing and he sees how we lead people. And, you know, it's also cool. I had an experience in March where I was speaking at a pretty large event in Nashville, Tennessee. And Jodi and they came up together and we snuck him into the event. He was able to sit along the sidewall. There was no seating in the room. He was able to be seated against the wall, and he watched the MC introduce me on stage and he watched the crowd's reaction. And I came out and I shared some pretty cool stuff with the audience, and it resonated. And right behind that, I'm going behind where the AV team were to get me unmiked and all the stuff. And one of the attendees in the audience was a barber from Tennessee. And you're ultra macho dude, right? Like he comes running behind the stage, and my son's watching this whole thing take place. And the guy's grabbing his chest and he's like leaning forward and he's completely brought to tears. And he says, I grew up in the foster system. And he was like, just seeing all the things that you've done, you give me hope. You give me hope as a young dad. You give me hope as somebody in the industry that can make a difference. And so that was a really cool moment because my son got to see, with me not being here on the weekends, you know, I tell him stories, I get to meet wonderful people all the time, but he got to see the impact and the opportunity that we all have to empower other people. And I think that was an instrumental moment because he still talks about it. And I still remember his face watching the whole thing happen. So we all have those beautiful moments that we can leave imprints in our children's hearts to show them what our legacy is.
Yeah, that's so special that he got to experience that.
It really is. That impact
Wow.
is unbelievable. Thinking it might be a good opportunity to shift over to our stylist audience, the stylist in the audience versus the salon owners. I find that sometimes within our company, and I'm sure you guys might find this as well, you have stylists who reach almost like their max, or they tap out. You know, what's next? I'm losing the passion. I'm losing the drive. Do you guys experience that in your own company, and how do you coach your stylists through that?
We give them opportunity. I think a lot of times what I was talking about, giving them another part of the business to take care of, like the associate training, the young stylist training program, that was a key thing. Having some of them take more important roles as far as like some of our stylists that are at that position now are big in our extension business. And so they become a manager of the extension part of our business. So they have like sometimes it's not even so much actually making more money. They just want to be a bigger part of what's going on. You know, they want to know that what they can contribute to the salon is very important. And it just gives them another challenge. It gives them something else to have to be a part of than just what they're doing behind the chair. So those are the kind of things that we try to do is, you know, see where people are wanting to go. And if there's something we can do to kind of help support that and
Yeah.
give them those opportunities. We've yet to get into the situation where we have people as like co-owners or shareholders or whatever that goes.
But I'm really ready
But we
for that.
know we're getting there. We're getting to this point. We've had stylists that have been with us now 19 years. You know, we've
Yeah.
been open 20 and they've been there 19. And so we know they've been there that long that they're not probably
They're
going
in it.
anywhere.
Yeah, they're
So
vested.
what can we do to create the next level of what it looks like for them if we're going to keep this brand, this thing going? And then when we're not even there anymore, what does that look like? So we're kind of in that transitional spot ourselves to try to figure out what the future looks like for these long
Well,
term
and it's not even just the long-term employees too. It's people that they see the vision and they carry the vision, right? They understand the essence of what Muse Salon and Spa is and what it represents. You know, giving back to community, operating with love, without gossip, without turmoil, keeping the professional standards of who we are and what we've built, understanding that we always need to maintain flexibility within the company to always pivot and grow based on the demands of what the audience is. You know, we're coming up on, we're about 2.5 years away from Gen Alpha coming to work inside of our salons, and you're going to be pivoting again. And so I think that's just really important to always stay in that. And for us, some of these people that work with us, they're younger than we are. And it would be nice to have someone else with younger vision and younger eyes to come lay their eyes on what we're doing and like change it. And so we're open to that. And so loyalty is one thing, but it's also people that carry the banner of the essence.
And then also knowing that we've always had this mentality of we don't want anyone to ever think that we know everything, and that we're always open to ideas. Some of those ideas that come are like, that's crazy, that's not going to work.
And some are brilliant.
And then some are like, oh my God, that's a great idea. You know, so always having our team know that there is a forum open to them, that they can come to us with some idea or concept that if we think it out and talk it out, it could be something great for the salon. We're never those owners that you don't ever want to talk to us about that idea because we're going to shoot it down or make you feel stupid or whatever. That's never been the way we do things.
I love this so much. We just came off of our final all-team meetup with the entire company this past weekend, and we did a lot of that. We did a lot of discussion. We had ideas flowing. We were doing breakout sessions. Actually, it was inspired by the Karastas event that we were at. Wasn't that so good? It was amazing. But it allowed us the opportunity to hear from the voices in the room. And I think that that really matters with a company. And something that's landing with me right now is when you guys had said that it's not always the person who's been with you the longest. Sometimes it's the person who might be younger, but they're just aligned with the vision and the brand and all of that. And I definitely think that matters. It really does. And I hope that salon owners are paying close attention to those people because they're really impactful.
They are. And I think, you know, to that point, to play the other side of that coin, sometimes the people that have been with us the longest, they're incredible. And my God, are we grateful for them? And it's also the people that have been with you the longest. You can sometimes experience that they're so comfortable that they're not willing to do anything more than what they do, right? Like they're just comfortable. It's a job now.
So
it's not
true.
a career. It's just, you're just existing. It's just like having a customer. Maybe, you know, you've had a customer for 20 years and you feel this obligatory thing that you have to discount their service because they've been loyal to you, you know, and you have new customers coming in that are paying 20-30% more than what this previous person's been paying over the years. And it's like loyalty can only get you so far, right? With that. So just understanding loyalty is great, and it's also great to have people that are willing to support your vision. And I saw a quote last week that was so good. It kind of ties into this, but it says, if you have to ask someone to carry bricks, they're not the people to build with. And so when you see people that just jump in and it's like, how many bricks can I carry with you? Those are the people that I would absolutely run through fire for.
Wow.
I love that.
not the ones that tell me the bricks are heavy.
That hits home.
Yeah.
So true.
To piggyback off the stylist piece, we've had the pleasure of having you in our company twice to speak to our stylists. And I
The
feel
pleasure is
like
mine.
I feel like the biggest takeaway is like they feel so empowered in like their own worth and, you know, what they do and what they believe in. Could you speak to that and kind of like the dilemma I think some stylists go through with themselves with like, you know, raising their prices when like they really should, and those types of things?
Yeah, you know, I think so many times, and we all do it. Listen, it's not just the stylists in salons; it's every single human out there. When you look at people, I would jump out on a limb and tell you that I think 99% of people that walk this earth right now are suffering with imposter syndrome.
Right.
You know, am I qualified to do this?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Number one. And is it going to be hard? Yes, it is. 100%. So when you have stylists they're trying to figure out if I need to charge more, you know, for years in a commission salon, they'll ask you for higher commission. And I was in DC last weekend working, and I had a really beautiful crowd of owners there. And one of the women, she told me that she's paying 60% commission. And in my mind, I know math and I know numbers, and that's not a viable business model. Like, she's going to be out of business. And so I dug deeper in private, away from the audience. I said, let's talk about this after the class. And so I walked over and I was like, let's talk about the 60% commission. Are you paying them 60% commission, or are you taking deductions? And there were deductions there. I said, so ultimately they're making 50% commission. She goes, yeah. She goes, but if they don't make a certain amount of money, they're going to walk out the door. I'm like, the amount of money made is up to them. That's the condition treatment. That's the gloss. That's the haircut. That's the price increase. And she goes, well, how do you raise your prices? I said, that's the other question that I'm asked almost all the time. People ask me, how do you raise your prices? And the first thing that I'm going to do back to them is ask them the question, what are you willing to do to raise your value? Mm-hmm. Right? Are you still doing the same shampoo that you've done? Because if you're going to charge me $10 more for that haircut blow dry, then I'm going to expect a better scalp massage, right? I'm going to expect maybe a hand massage in the treatment room, whatever that is. And so raising your prices, it is a fearful thing. It's real. You're like, oh my gosh, if I raise my prices, I'm going to lose clients. That's the point. Is the point. You want to weed out the people that don't see the true value of what you bring, or maybe truly somebody's on a budget and they really cannot afford that additional increase. And that's okay.
Because someone else in your salon could be.
Yeah. Just refer them to someone else in the company that maybe is growing. There's always the beautiful cycle there. What we have to realize is, you know, there's a brand for every single person. And if you're bringing the experience, which all we ever really sold in this industry was human connection. It was never the cut or the color anyway. We were selling connection. How do you make people feel? And so with that being said, I often ask the stylist, I'm like, how many of these young people in particular, they're like, oh, my clientele is young. I'm like, that's wonderful. You should be having a really beautiful social media if they're all young, first of all. And the other part of that is if the young kids are coming in to get their hair done and you're worried about their price, I want you to look to see if they're holding a $1,400 iPhone in their hand when they're getting that service.
Yeah.
And if they are, I want you to look to see if they have a screen protector, because they do. And I guarantee you they have a couple of adapters and chargers that they've also purchased to keep the charge on that, which I'm translating that into the cost of extensions or hair color, and then the proper at-home care purchased from our salons. So people are spending money. The question is, are you worth the money that you're charging? And so, you know, believe in yourself. And if you're someone that is doubting yourself, your confidence, you're thinking like, hey, I can't speak to my customer. There's a disconnect between our age, the generation. I have nothing in common with them. We have everything in common with everyone. In fact, there's very few things that we don't have in common as human beings across the board. We have way more things in common than not. So how are we connecting with those people in the time that they're with us? And then the other thing that I'm going to ask you is, if you want to have that price increase, but you're scared, how much money, and this is going to hit home, so I'm going to say it nice and slow. How much money are you investing in your own education? Not expecting the owners of the salon or your parents or whomever to provide this education to you, because the reason you don't see your true value in what you should be charging is because you've never invested personally in your own education. When you pay for your education yourself, now comes the value.
We could just end it there, and that would
Yes,
be
yes,
like
That was a good mic drop for
Yeah,
us.
mic drop.
They're too expensive to drop them. I see the ones you're using.
Yep. So it's interesting that you're saying this because a thought came to me. This is actually, I listened to a Simon Sinek podcast this morning, and it was all about just basically how people aren't paying for the skill or they aren't paying for the skill that you have. They're paying for the experience that you provide and how you make them feel, which is a big message that you guys typically send. But my question is, the stylists out there who maybe aren't in the beginning of their career, or maybe they are, but the things aren't moving as quickly as they want, or maybe they're not as busy as they once were. And, I feel like that type of stylist, what are the things that you would be paying attention to if you were them and getting them kind of over that hump of discouragement?
This is where I don't want someone that's younger than me to listen to like, oh, it's giving boomer energy. I hate that so much. I'm not a boomer, PA. Not even close. So what I'm going to say is if I have a dead spot on my book, if I have cancellations, if I have openings, that bothers me. It really bothers me. The first thing that I'm going to think of is not how can I mark my book off so I can go home and be sad about not making money. What I'm going to think is like, I need to use this 1 hour cancellation time to be creating some social media content, or perhaps reaching out through social media, or maybe even in person to some of the local businesses around you, asking how you can collaborate with them. Like, what can we do together? I've never been one to sit still. Now, he will tell you before we got onto this podcast, I'm literally saying a prayer over today and tomorrow that I have cancellations Wednesday or Thursday because I'm upwards of 30 guests on my books both days.
Wow.
It's absolutely insane. Not over the 2 days, like 30.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane the next 2 days in the salon. And, some of the fight back that I get from stylists with the other mentality is that, well, there's no way that you're connecting. And I'm going to question back again. If I'm not connecting, why do I have so many guests? So, there's truth, and I charge a lot of money. So it's not the price and it's not the time spent, it's they're connecting. So what I would say to you is that you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You need to always be uncomfortable. You need to be pushing yourself. I talk about this. You should go to Toastmasters classes. If you don't know how to speak to people, that's a huge problem in this industry. You have to learn how to speak. So there's Toastmasters. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's in every city. It's free. There's literally no excuse. You can even do trainings online. You need to push yourself as hard as you can. And I'll ask you, how often are you going out in the community, passing out your cards? And people will say, well, that's so awkward. Lean into this one. So is being poor. You have to choose your awkward. So you need to push yourself. People do leave us. People leave because of price. People leave because they're bored. People leave because they move. People leave because they die. One of the stories, people are always leaving. So what are you doing to generate the business back in?
I'll speak on this part too, because I see so much of it in our own company. And believe me, our company is not perfect. We try every single day to be perfect. I'm sure you guys understand this, but it's just always a work in progress. And a certain age bracket of this particular group that we're hiring now, it's just the product of the politics, the economy, everything. So many of them still live at home, and so many of them still have a pretty good support system from their parents or whatever their situation may be. And so when we have a group of a certain age group that comes into the company, they work with the mentor stylist for a year and a half.
Or less, depending. It's up to them.
Yeah. So then they go through, they're also at the same time, they're going through our training program, and they look one way during that process. And then when they get put in a situation where they've checked all the boxes, passed all the tests, done all the things, we put them on the floor, and then all of a sudden they're a different person. It's like they, as I always say, they let their foot off the gas. It's like they just are coasting now. They've made it, they're doing it. And there's this sort of mentality is like, as long as I do one good color client a day, maybe two. If I want to be busy, then I'm happy. So they kind of like get in this complacent mindset of bare minimum.
Yeah.
Just enough to just get by. But then you have exceptions to that, which in this current group is rare, that you may have 20% of that group that literally are hustlers. They come in and they want to do as many guests and as add on all the treatments and sell all the retail and do all the things and all the things that we require and set goals for each of them, that they do it well. And then we literally like want to beat ourselves over the head with some of these guys. Like, how do you not discourage them and make them just not want to do it, but still push them enough to like understand that you're going to be at the same level,
You're never going to
same price point. Your prices are in our company. You have to like achieve a certain level of success and hitting certain goals before you can raise your prices. So with us,
it's super easy to do. By the
yeah.
way.
So with us, it's like your next price increase is going to come 100% on how you are performing. And so a lot of them this last quarter, we had a lot of them. So I felt like we had like a aha moment with a lot of that particular group that I'm talking about, where they're like, oh my God, I can go to the next level.
Yeah, they were
I can get a raise. So we're hopeful that moving into like the busiest quarter of the year, here we are in the last quarter of the year and then beyond, that some of them actually see that they are capable of more than just the bare minimum of doing one color.
I saw something yesterday. When I was flying home, and it was showing the new report of what it costs to live comfortably in the United States. And in the state of Georgia, where we are, to live comfortably, you have to make $217,000 a year to live comfortably. So, California was $293,000, if I recall. So when you're looking at those numbers, you're going to have to work. Unless you have a trust fund account, you're going to have to hustle. And I've always said this when people ask me about work-life balance. It can exist, kind of. But when you look at the span of your life, you can work hard when you're young, and you can balance that out when you're older, or you can chill all you want to when you're in your 20s and 30s. But 30s is when you're building your wealth, or you should be. So chill if you need to in your 20s and 30s. Just understand that you'll never retire, and that's just real. Like, you're going to be working when you're old, unless you marry well.
And then like the stats for what the national average for our hairstylist,
25,500.
Yeah, and so to know that is the national average is 25,000.
Terrifying.
To know that we hired someone and put them in our company and that was what they're going to make, that would like devastate me. So to see someone come in, we're going to make sure that you make more than $25,000 a year. And so
our cleaning company makes more money than that. 2 days a week.
Just always raising the bar on the industry to make sure that people understand, if you're going to go to beauty school, you're going to invest in this, and this becomes your trade and your craft and what you really want to do. Don't just be, like he said, when you're young, work hard if you can. If you don't have any other responsibilities, a spouse, a kid, or any of that kind of stuff, it's okay to hustle. I don't know why there has become this whole thing in culture, like hustle culture is bad. It's toxic.
Toxic is not being able to pay your bills and being so stressed from financial stress and look at we could get into numbers. I always say numbers don't lie, but people do. Divorce rate in America, last I looked, was 62%. Number one reason for divorce in America is financial situation. Hello. Make yourself free so that you can do what you need to do, and so that you're still going to have stress no matter what, but it makes it a little bit easier when you can pay your bills.
I love it. And I feel like you're shedding light. You're shedding light on something that's like super important, because I feel like there's so many times the toxic culture, not toxic culture, the
hustle
culture gets a bad rap, but essentially like hustle culture is what's creating these incredibly successful stylists. It's not because they're sitting in the break room or they're doing 1 or 2 clients a day. It's because they actually have a strategic business mindset around their business, and that's why they're successful. So I find it interesting, but I love that you guys are shedding light on that.
Or if you even like think about someone outside of our industry, think of some young person, I can probably think of a name, that's in a different sector they were in, like the tech culture, like some big app or some big something that some young person created. I guarantee you that person is a big hustler.
No doubt.
And they become super famous and very wealthy because they never stopped until what it was that they were creating or they were trying to bring to the market made it, and they're super successful. So
All day long.
they have these people
Or
as
even
role
junior,
models.
people that are working to become partners out of law school. You know,
Yeah.
you get out of law school, you're working as hard as you can. You've done your internship. You're working, and all you're trying to do is make partner. The way you're going to make that is you're having to have more billable hours. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're going to be successful, you're going to have to work. You know,
It's so true.
It's just what it is.
Well, your mantra definitely reflects ours as well. And I feel like we're at a place right now where we're like kind of realizing like just coasting by is not doing good for anybody. Like, you definitely, like you said, you got to work, you got to step up, and there's a place for everybody. And it might not be in my salon. Like, yeah, we're always going to push. We're always going to try to grow you, make you the best version of yourself that you can be, the most successful. Like, Jodi, you were saying, like, we're going to make sure you're not making $25,000 a year. However, you know, there's always the salon down the street that they're okay with coasting, but just know you're not going to make that money.
We're happy that you're happy.
It's funny you say that because I say this all the time. I want you happy whether it's with me or not.
Right.
Like, your number one priority needs to be your happiness. Wow,
true.
that was amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Thanks for being who you are.
Oh,
I value our friendship so much.
I know, so do we.
Aw.
Well, when he gets his podcast up and going again, we will have you guys on.
Oh,
We would love that. Yep. And Jodi, thanks so much. You bring so much value.
You do.
And we love when we get to see both of you guys together because you guys have a really nice balance to your relationship and professionally and personally. But thank you guys so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.